Although my garden has been much neglected of late, there's still so much growing. Good boy. You like gardening? Yeah. My friend Kathy is coming over to help me harvest today. So before she gets here, let's take a garden tour. This is the harvest that Kathy and I got today. I did not expect to get this much of a harvest at the middle of October. So how much do you think all of this weighs? Go ahead and go in the comments and put your guess. And then hang out, because near the end of the video, I'm going to weigh it all out and we will see who's the closest. We're going to start our tour back here in the arches. I had really hoped that my veggies would vine up enough to completely cover the arches, and they didn't. Next year I'm going to plant my butternut squash down here because it really was the most vining of all the plants I planted. Good morning, Rocket Cat. Hi. How are you? Back here I have the last of the watermelons and some nasturtiums. This is supposed to be a compost bin, and well, it needs some work, I think. And look, I even have grass growing up in the rabbit manure tea bin. Here's another sort of caney type weed. I don't even know what that is. Flowers. They're pretty, but they're a weed. This arch still has some tomatoes growing on it and also some green beans. So I'm going to do some harvesting today. I need to come through and clean out all the old cantaloupe vines that are growing on this trellis, and I also need to take down the t-shirts that I used to tie up the melons. And I've got grass coming up. Anywhere that there was a hole, there are weeds coming up. As you can see, around the T-posts and just everywhere. So I'm going to need to find something to kind of discourage that growth over the winter so that I can replant in those spots next spring. I have weeds coming up around the edges of the garden too. I still have some improvements to make, but overall I'm really happy with the weed fabric, especially in this part of the garden. There's another watermelon hiding back here. More tomatoes. These were strawberries that were sent to me by my mom's friend, and I don't know whether they're going to come back or not, but I hope they will. My green bean teepees there and there are dying off, so I'll probably harvest the last from them today. I have one pumpkin left. I only ended up with about 3. I don't know if I'm going to grow pumpkins in the garden next year or not. The vines take up so much space, and I only got 3, so we'll see. These are some perennial flowers I planted, so I'm hoping that they'll come back next year. I'm going to be harvesting the last of the tomatoes. The plants are starting to die. We did get a frost the other night, and I didn't get the tomatoes in, so I will harvest what I can and then probably pull the rest. My bell peppers are on the ground, so I will harvest as many as I can. Obviously, I wasn't a very good gardener as the summer went on. I have been very neglectful of this area. This was the worst fabric cloth to use. It wasn't a barrier at all. The grass kept growing right underneath it. So all of this will be coming up, and I'll be replacing it with the good stuff this year. This was my butternut squash trellis, and it did fantastic. There were so many squash on it. It was unbelievable. I will be moving them, like I said, but I was really happy with the way they turned out, and it looks like I have the last of them to harvest today also. So I planted green beans everywhere there was a T-post, and they're still producing, so that's great. Looks like my comfrey plant is ready to be cut back for winter. It'll come back nice and strong. They always do. More nasturtiums that came up after the squash died out. Another comfrey plant. Look at the size of that thing. Here in the weeds, there's my strawberries right there. And I'll just clean them up, and then hopefully they'll come back next year. This was our second year in this spot, so hopefully next year I'll get fruit. Now we're getting into the part of the garden that got really, really overgrown. It's just grass. It's like 3 feet tall. It's laying down, so I'm guessing the chickens have been flying in here and laying it down. So here are some kale that are thriving. Kale is pretty easy to grow. I will continue to grow kale. I don't know what this weed is, but look at it. It's just incredibly massive. It's probably, I'm guessing, like 8 feet by 8 feet by 6 feet. I mean, it's just a huge patch of whatever this is. Those were supposed to be black-eyed peas. I think they will be planted again next year. I'll just harvest them for the seeds. Another kale patch that's doing pretty well. Looks like we've had some bug pressure in here. If you look at this one, you can see the bug pressure on it, or where it's been eaten up. I don't know what's in here doing that. So this is good news, actually. Look at these. My fall peas are doing really good. I had this sheet on them in the heat of the summer, but I can take it down now. The storm came through and kind of blew it down anyway. Ooh, that caterpillar is going to have to go somewhere else. Goodbye, Mr. Fuzzy Caterpillar. I'm going to wait till I have gloves on, though, because I think they can sting. I don't know what you are, but you can't eat my peas. So I have peas along this whole trellis. That's exciting. This is the area that was the potato patch, so it is also going to get some more ground cover before next planting season. This massive tree of a weed right here, all of that is where my carrot bed is. And there are good carrots under the ground. I just can't get to them, so I dig that up. Those are my other 3 beds, and you can see this end of the garden is very much neglected. So yesterday I was out doing chores and I noticed something. And I showed Chris, and he came and moved a piece of wood for me. Let me show you what we found. Do you see that right there? Snake skin. It's about, what, 2.5 feet long, right? That's what I thought. Well, then we lifted up this piece of plywood. That snake skin goes all the way to right about there. And that's an 8-foot piece of plywood. So that's about and it goes all the way to the end here. There's a tail. So that's about a 6-foot long snake. And then when we were looking at it, second snake skin, there and there, almost the same length as the first one. 2 snake skins, and I don't know what kind it was. The only kind of snakes I've ever seen around here are black, like rat snakes. And I don't know when they lose their snake skin, like what the color is. So I don't know if those could be a couple really long rat snakes or what. Yikes. Oh, wow, you got a nice watermelon over there. Yeah, that's what I'm going to walk around now. Alright, I'm going to take these butternut squashes and see if we can salvage from them. I'm so thankful for Kathy's help harvesting today. We got 3 pounds, 3 ounces of bell peppers, 14 pounds, 5 ounces of tomatoes, 10 pounds, 9 ounces of butternut squash, 37 pounds, 5 ounces of watermelon, and 8 pounds of green beans for a grand total of 73 pounds and 8 ounces for an October harvest. How close were you? Did anybody get it right? Do you see what I see? I just found this watermelon growing outside the garden fence. I had no idea it was out here. It's ready to come in. Let's take it inside for a harvest. The garden is really overgrown. It's really been neglected, but it's still so beautiful to me. And we're still growing so much food. We've got peas, kale, green beans, tomatoes, melons still growing in this. It's amazing that every year it gets better and better. And even though the weeds did come in big and strong this year, where I had put down the good weed fabric, no weeds. So I'm just going to keep at it, keep going, keep building the soil, keep trying to make this a more productive place to be in. I've really enjoyed spending time in the garden with you. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to see how I designed this beautiful garden, you can click the video that's going to show up somewhere around me right now.